Kitty. Here's Kitty.
Hiya! How are we doing, gang? Are we alright? It's good to be with you again in your inbox, in your earlobes. I hope you're alright wherever you are. It's me, it's Kitty Cassis. I'm back. And cassis, as we all know by now, is like the dark, sweet, viscous, slightly sickly liqueur, only tolerable in very small doses. And they are just small little doses, aren't they? There's so many people that have been in touch. They're absolutely loving the podcast. They're telling their neighbours about the podcast. They're telling their work colleagues about the podcast. They're telling everybody in their polyamorous relationships about the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, if that's how you've joined us. Calling Kitty is for the person out there who misses owning concept albums. Is that you? You know, from the moment the band would announce they've got a new album out, we'd all race down to Woolworths or Our Price or HMV, wouldn't we? And we'd hold the product in our grubby mitts and we'd smell it. And we'd fold out the artwork and scan the lyrics. And I'd try and spot myself in the credits every time. I'd usually find myself in there. Yet the die-hard music fans out there, perhaps you do still occasionally purchase some vinyl and pop it on your old turntable, especially if you're in company and you're trying to appear cool. But they just do make it so easy to stream these days, don't they? And really, at this point, we do just want what's easiest for us. So if that is you, welcome to Calling Kitty. I like to imagine what you all might be doing as you're listening to this. I mean, where I am now, I'm recording and it's March 2024 and there's just that spring in the air, treasures, and you can almost smell it, you can almost see it. Now, it might be that you are on the set of Star Wars in a dystopian future and you've just got, or Dune, and you've got sand in your retinas and you can't even see a green leaf anywhere around you. But I want you to know, from this space-time consortium, spring is in the air and things are just starting to bloom. Do you know what I mean? Things are starting to bloom. And so I'm feeling quite light and I'm feeling quite optimistic. And if I can spread that to you, you know, like a germ, like a sneeze that might just, you know, a bit of my saliva might land on your palm, and then you might go and scratch your nose later and you inhale my optimism that way. I'm fine with that, and hopefully you will be too. All right, so I like to imagine what you're doing now, and I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're all right. I imagine most people walking the dog while they're listening to this, and I don't know why. It's just those people who like to go on a suspiciously large amount of dog walks. Sometimes they don't even have a dog. Do you know what I'm saying, treasures? Yeah, we do. We're all on the same page there. We know what we're talking about, don't we? Talking of music, you know, with albums and stuff like that, it got me thinking about how I was involved in the music industry for a long time. You know, I mean, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. I did all the hair and makeup on that tour. Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, of course, I did the wardrobe for that. Later on, Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, if you can get your hands on the inlay card from the cassette format, you'll spot that yours truly, Kitty Cassis, was the spiritual consultant for them. All right. And obviously that is a tour that has got a reputation as all going a bit belly up and everybody lost their minds a bit. Well, that's what I bring. That's what I bring, you know, to any organisation. So if you're listening to Calling Kitty for the first time, I'm Kitty. It is a bit like spending 20 minutes with your mad, eccentric aunt. We have an audio format, that's what you're listening to now, but we have the visual element, and I would lobby you strongly to go and search out the visual element, because I'm here in all of my glory. I'm looking stunning today, treasures. I've just laminated my brows this morning. I mean, I just use cling film and a blowtorch, and that's how I get this shape. And I've got tutorials on my website, hireitsmekitty.com. You can go to that and see what I'm doing on there. You might be able to see I've got my green screen up because I've been filming my OnlyFans content. If you've been listening to other episodes, you'll know that I do a little... I've got several income streams, Treasure. All right. You know, that camper van out on my front drive didn't just grow there. You know, you have to work hard. You know, as somebody said, we've all got the same 24 hours in a day, haven't we, Treasure? And it's up to you what you do with them. I mean, when I was doing backing vocals for Mel and Kim, that's what we always used to say, you know, take or leave it. And do you think I got any recognition for that? No. That's correct. I bloody didn't. All right. Do you think I'd be sitting here doing this, you know, for you lot for absolute free? If I no, I'd be in where would I be in Koh Samui? Somewhere like that, sunning it up, wouldn't I? But I'm all right. I'm happy with my lot. I mean, one of the happiest times was when I wrote all the filler tracks on Timmy Mallett's 1990 album, Hugging and a Kissing. Go and look it up, treasures. I mean, I've got the mini disc edition here. Timmy and me, we did have a thing. He has now got a restraining order against me. It does seem to be the way that a lot of my interactions go. But you could pick one of those up on eBay for probably about 45 pence. And you'd be able to, you know, that's my interior world spilled out in a lyrical fashion. Do you know what I mean? And then you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Kitty, you know, you were always on the peripheral of those creative geniuses. Did you ever do your own thing? Well, good question. Great question. And I did. You know, I spent many years in my own... I mean, obviously we have got a recording studio that's in the corner of our Dave's shed, just in case I ever do want to go back to that. And, you know, my debut album, Give Your Head a Wobble, was really just I mean, it blew the minds of a lot of you know, Melody Maker. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know what box to put me in. And sometimes when you're genre busting like I was, sometimes it's best to just walk away and let everybody just marinate and just process what they've seen and what they've heard. All right. And I know I'll have a lot of fans who will occasionally just Google me and think, oh God, Kitty Cassis, I wonder where she is now. And then you might have come to my podcast format that way. And if you do want me to, maybe I've got my old guitar over there, and I can certainly, you know, I taught Dolly pretty much every chord that she knows on the acoustic guitar. And, you know, if you ever want me to do a bit like a Radio 1 live lounge session, something like that, that could be nice, couldn't it? You know, just maybe a bit of a impromptu jam session, something like that. Give me a shout if you've had anything to do with the music industry. It's cutthroat. You know, it really is, treasures. And if you are in any way sensitive, I mean, you know, I was doing therapy for years after being in that music industry down in that there London. You know, it took years off me, but then what I did was I cryogenically put the years back onto me, and I found myself breaking even now, which is good. I've got a question for Ed Sheeran. How do you talk for hours and hours about sweet and sour? Yeah, I'm genuinely intrigued. All right. You talked for hours and hours about sweet and sour. I mean, it's one of my bloody favourite subjects, Ed. You know, it's what I always choose when I go down the Chinese. But, I mean, I would have it as my mastermind subject. But, and I've been invited many times to go on there, as you can imagine. But for hours and hours, what exactly are you discussing for hours and hours, Ed? And if they're the kind of dates that you're going on, I don't know. For me, I'm just like, wouldn't you move on from that subject? I mean, you know, are you talking about whether it's pork, chicken, prawn, veg, pork balls? Do you want it Hong Kong style, all mixed up, or do you want it separate? I don't know. I just heard that lyric and I was kind of like, I'd love to know how they've spoken for hours and hours about sweet and sour. maybe next time you're listening to Heart FM, that will come on the radio and you'll think, bloody hell, Kitty was right there. That conversation would be exhausted pretty much as soon as it had started, a bit like this concept on my show. Do you know what I'm saying, treasures? So as I've always said to you every week when I do this podcast, when this episode drops into your life, and as I always say, you don't need to have listened to all of the episodes. You know, it's not like The Sopranos, you know, where you need to have known what's happened. There's no story arc. You're just dropping in here and it's absolutely fine. But I do always encourage people to get in touch with me. You know, I've worked with Claire Rayner for many, many years. You know, we did a Dear Deirdre, you know, for The Sun. That's what I was doing in Fleet Street. And if you've got dilemmas, anybody's got any dilemmas, you know, get in touch with me. You can do that by... how can you do it? Pretty much anywhere. I mean, usually if you just go outside into your front lawn and just shout up into the sky, Kitty! I mean, I would probably be able to, you know, just, especially with, if I'm tuning in to me different cosmic levels, I would be able to hear what you're saying, or I'd be able to know what you were getting in touch with me. But you can, on all the usual platforms, you can even leave a slightly abusive message on this YouTube page in the comments there. If you look, there's always my favourite who turn up and remind us that this is utter shite. So that's obviously a call for help on a few levels, isn't it? Now, one thing I did want to, I've got this letter here. It says, "Dear Kitty, can you help me with my husband Steve? He's just useless and stupid. He'll come into a room and see that I've placed something on a table, a new fruit bowl from Home Sense, for example, and he'll say, 'What's that?' And I will look at him in disbelief. I've discussed this with friends who all have a story to tell. We've come to the conclusions that our husbands are all idiots and we are wasting our lives. How do we deal with this and move forward? Thanks in advance, Gillian from Maidstone." Oh, well, if I can't hear the clunk of 1,000 mugs being placed onto little coasters right now in suburban England, and many women just putting their head into their hands. And if you look on the YouTube, I'm doing all the actions. And if you want to join us here, if you've got an absolute imbecile that you've found yourself shackled to, let's just all have a minute. I'm on the water. I've still got the bloody cystitis, gang. I can't have me Barocca and Blue Nun during the day anymore. That's what I've been told by the doctors. Anyway, different story. Okay, Gillian from Maidstone. Yeah, I think what happens, treasure, they're almost like, they're on a loop, aren't they? Did you ever watch that show Westworld? It was on Sky. They're all robots, but they're in a human form with like flesh robots basically, and they all have a loop. They're all programmed with certain conversational topics and scripts, and they're on a loop. And I think that a lot of these men, my Dave included, treasure, I know what you mean, and I've had to break his circuits a couple of times, take the chip out the back of his head, reprogram it, put it back in. It's habit, isn't it? So I can picture the scene. You've painted that benign life that you live in so accurately there. Come into the room, look at the bleeding obvious and ask, "What's that? What you doing? Who's that? Where you going?" You know, all those kind of questions. Now, it sounds like you've got some friends around you. You're obviously having the chance to debrief. Maybe you're going wild water swimming. Maybe you're all meeting in a wanking circle. I don't know what you're doing. You're calling it book club. That's fine. You need to be able to meet up with your friends, treasure, and have a little bit of a moan. But also what you can do is throw in some advice there. And what I would say is, when he comes into the room, and you could set your bloody Rolex by it, couldn't you? I got this one off Deansgate in Manchester. It was $3.99. Before He's even said it. You know he's going to say it. And what you do is you just nip in there straight away and you say, Nigel, Steve, it was Steve in this example, wasn't it? For me, I go, Dave, before you say a word, that's a fruit bowl. I've just purchased it from HomeSense. It was $12.99. I couldn't resist a bargain. Is there any other information that you need to know at this point? Or what you need to do is just break that circuit, break that habit. That's what you need to do, Treasure. And what I would also encourage you to do is maybe just not be in the room when he's in the room. That's another solution to the problem, isn't it? I'm not suggesting that you pack up and leave him, but maybe just make sure that you plan all of your movements and activities so that you are literally like ships passing in the night. He doesn't even get a chance to ask the question as you're passing. That can lead to a very, very long, not fulfilling, but a long marriage. All right. And that's where we are at this point. Maybe also there's a distraction thing there. What we need, like I said before, we need to break that loop, distract him. Maybe if you go for full body paint, and that's what I'm talking about, like a nude body paint, maybe you could paint yourself as a floor standing lamp or a post box, anything that is just going to distract. I mean, he will say, what's that? What you doing? And you've got to state the bleeding obvious. The other thing I would suggest is just get your Valium intake and ramp that up. Just ramp that up. If you're doing HRT, I don't know what you're at. I should get people to state their age and their and their circumstances really, but you can just double drop on that HRT, and really everything then will just go a bit fuzzy around the edges. You could also just pre-record into a little tape recorder. It's a fruit bowl from HomeSense. It was $7.99, and then devise some sort of system where he walks into the room that triggers the voice note to play, and then he is just talking. It's AI talking to AI. The robots will eat themselves. I hope that has been useful. I'm sure it hasn't, but listen, just to get that problem off your chest, I can imagine has made it feel a bit better. Also, maybe communication, Treasure. I mean, it's old-fashioned. Called me old-fashioned. Sometimes the old ones are the best, aren't they? Just say to, why are you saying that? Why are you doing that, Steve? Now, that might open up a whole can of worms and it might end in divorce. But at least you don't have to put up with his shit anymore. All right, Gillian. Thanks for writing in, Treasure. That's how easy it is. You can just drop me a DM on my website, hireitsmekitty.com. There is a little form. It says get in touch, cock, and you can do that. Now, I've got to say, when we ask people to record us a message and get in touch with us, sometimes we are overwhelmed with responses and we have to just pick one, and that's what we've had to do now. Shall we pick one, Treasure, and let's see what we're dealing with, shall we? Here we go.
Hi, Auntie Kitty, it's me, Sade Marie.
Oh, Sade.
Your favourite niece.
Yes.
Oh, you're so good at dilemmas. And I've got a little problem of my own that I hoped you could help me with.
Absolutely,
so
Treasure, go
me
on.
and Tyson are getting married next year. Oh,
Lovely.
Of course you do. What am I thinking of? You're the guest of honour, you are. And you're doing Ty's back sack and crack, not to mention me brows for the occasion.
Oh, that's going to be hard work, isn't it?
What comes before the wedding? Ta-da! Me endo. I'm very excited, obviously. I never thought I'd get married. And it still absolutely amazes me that Tyson has chosen me. Not only to be his wife, but a second mum to his 4 children. Cheeky little pickles they are. Anyway, this is the dilemma. Some of the girls, like old school friends and my sisters, they really want to go to Benidorm as usual. You know, the pole dancing classes and penis straws have been a big ball, if you get me drift. But here's the rub. A few of me newer friends, particularly Lucinda and Philippa from work, They think a spa in the Cotswolds would be nice, with maybe a live drawing class or a pottery making session thrown in. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to decide. Can you help me, love? All right, see you later. Ta-ra, bye, love.
Bye, Sade. Oh, so yes, that was my niece. She's my 13th niece. She's my, oh God, who is she now? She's Deirdre's middle daughter, Sade Marie. Oh, now I thought this might come up. Sade has got a new job recently. She's working in the library. All right, and she's changed a lot since then. If you're listening to this, Sade, it's nothing that I wouldn't say to your face, treasure. She's changed, and not necessarily for the worse. Do you know what I mean? She's got a bit more sophistication about her now. But she straddles these two worlds, as you can see. You know, I mean, who wouldn't want to get rubbed down by an oily, ripple-muscled man with a bulging penis in Benidorm as part of your hen do? Well, the women that work at the library, they don't want to do that. I mean, what I can see here actually is like almost like a two chapter hen do, Sade. Now you will have to, I mean, the thing is when you go on a hen do, you get everyone else to pay for things anyway, don't you? Regardless of whether they think the marriage would last or not, and that's a whole different episode. But what we could do is maybe suggest to your friends that want to go to Benidorm that they actually go to the Cotswolds and maybe, you know, join a literary circle and do some crocheting and some life drawing and spa. And then your friends who work in the library, they need to go over and see the other, you know, how the other half live, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Now, I wouldn't say this to anybody who writes in. This obviously is, she's blood relative. What I could do, and David be happy to clear out his side shed, where we could actually get both things going on in there. Do you know what I mean? So you have a little bit of mucky with a little bit of highbrow. You need both parts of life, treasure, especially because you're going to be dealing with those bloody feral kids of his. You know, you need a good send-off. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there were many hen do's that I went to. Most of them we would just be on a coach for about 3 days, really. You know, going to Blackpool, coming back from Blackpool, but we would somehow go via Norfolk. And that's because the coach driver was, he was dyspraxic. That's what we found out since. And also used to rob banks. It's a long story, and the court case, you know, is still going on with that one. But we would, we would have left Chorley. We'd get to Wigan. As you saw the signs going on the M6, we'd all be absolutely blotto by then. So I think whatever you do for your hen do, Sade, it has to be fueled by copious amounts of alcohol. You know, just to deal with the severity of the situation and to deal with all these new friends you've got in your life. Lots of people might offer the advice, keep everybody separate. Not me. I say get everyone together, mix them all in. You know, it might be that Patricia would get on really well with Gobshite Mandy. You know, it may be that on paper they don't seem compatible, but who knows what could happen after a couple of glasses of Prosecco and half a bag of speed, you know. And I can sort all that out for you as well. If you've got nuptials coming up and you're nervous about that kind of thing, get in touch with me, because what I can say to you now is it'll all be all right. Okay, it will all come out in the wash in the end. All right. Now, will everybody have all of their limbs intact? You can never know. Will anybody be scarred mentally for life? Again, hard to know. But these are all risks that we have to take because we're living this thing called life, aren't we, treasures? Do you know what I mean, Cock? It was lovely to hear your voice, Sade Marie, and I think I'm coming with you, with your mum, to do the dress fitting. Aren't we? I think we're going down to that old Ethel Austin's, aren't we, on the high street to see what materials they've got left. So if you're planning something, if maybe you've done it already and it all kicked off, get in touch with me, because I did work for the United Nations undercover for many, many years. And I've got these nuggets of wisdom, you know, I can smooth over. I'm diplomatic. That's what I'm saying. That's how easy it is to get in touch with me. And if you, there is a phone number that you can leave a little voice note, but we do have to have a bit of a chat first. So the first step is to DM me at Higher It's Me Kitty on all the platforms. I should be telling you stuff about like that I'm going out live on the road. Do you know what I mean? I'm about to go on and do tours, and actually a lot of them are in care homes, you know, where you've got a captive audience, but you've got to start somewhere. If you want to go and find me dates, go and look on my website. They're all on there. Get a ticket, come along. It would be lovely to meet you in real life. Some of me subscribers, it would be absolutely gorgeous to see you. And if I have managed to prattle on and just let you forget about the real world for just a few minutes, my work is done here, treasures. Listen, from the bottom of my colonic to the very tips of these acrylics, I've been Kitty Cassis. You lot have been gorgeous. Ta-ra, take care!
Like, follow, subscribe, sign your life savings over to Calling Kitty. Available on all the podcast platforms.